very happy to present today Dr. Suranga Nanayakkara, who's just recently joined the ABI, and he and his group are going to present an overview of the research that they're carrying on. So Suranga did his studies at the National University of Singapore, where he got an undergraduate degree in engineering as well as a PhD. He then worked at the MIT Media Lab as a postdoctoral associate until 2010, when he then went to Singapore, where he worked at the Singapore University of Technology and Design. So we were very fortunate to be able to get him to join Auckland as part of the entrepreneurial university scheme set up by the government, which aims to attract entrepreneurial academics to set up their labs in Auckland. Or in New Zealand in general. So, and so Suranga's research areas are basically in enabling human-computer interactions as natural extensions of our abilities to enhance human functionality. And so he is going to tell us about the projects that he has going on in Singapore. So over to you.
Thank you. Wow, so many people. Wasn't expecting this many. Right, so thanks for all of you to be here in the evening. My goal is today to first give you an overview of what we do and go through some of the projects that we have done. That is the first part of the seminar, and then towards the end I'll do a little experiment getting my team to present what they are working on in 30 seconds. We'll see how it goes. It'll be a nice series of flash talks. But before that, I'll go through what we do in detail and go through some of the projects. I would like to start with a small question. You just heard the sound, right? What would be your reaction to this sound if you heard this sound? Okay, yeah, so you're expecting someone by the door, you are asking the person to come in, and another person might. And what I did was I went to the room and opened the door. But if you recall, this sound actually comes from Yahoo Messenger. When somebody signs in, this is the tone. So you could see the intention of the technology and the reaction of the person. There's a disconnect, and this is what I see. There's a lot of good things that the technology has to offer. There are ways that we behave naturally, but it seems like there's a disconnect between the two. And my research over the years has been finding ways to bring this gap together, close this gap. I'll give you a specific example to motivate it. At least the part of where I come from, I'm originally from Sri Lanka. We do this traditional activity where we get color powder and put it on our forehead. That's, to me, it's a physical copy paste. You just pick the powder, put it here. Very easy to do. I don't have to teach you. If I give you a little pot with color powder, you know the copy paste would be just picking and putting. But it doesn't work the same way in the digital domain. If I ask you to give a photo from your phone to my phone, then suddenly you have to know either Dropbox or email, Bump, some form of unknown way of doing this, which is not part of your natural behavior. So my question back in 2011 was, can I copy paste digital information similar to how I would copy paste that little bit of color from a color pot to my forehead? And this is an application we built where I see a phone number on a web page, I take it as if it's that color powder, drop it to my phone. It gets copied over. The technology is pretty straightforward. It just works through the cloud. But the point is the way you interact. This was 2011. We patented this to MIT. This now evolves into a product of Samsung. If you Google for Samsung Flow, you can download that app. And if you're a multiple Samsung user, you can start something with your smartwatch, take it and drop it to your tablet or drop it to your smartphone. So these are the kind of technologies that I'm talking about, which we call them assistive augmentations. The idea is they are part of our natural behavior. It feels like natural extension of us rather than creating so many smart devices which may not make you smarter. The smart devices, collection of them not necessarily make you do things smarter. Rather than doing that, we want to create technologies that are enabling, that feels like extension of us, and in other words, create technologies that essentially has very short learning curve. If you have to learn the technology with a long learning process, and if it has to disrupt your usual process of doing things, then that doesn't belong in the category of assistive augmentation. And there's a process that we do to come up with projects like this, and I call this more of a discovery process. Rather than hypothesizing things just in the lab and then creating things and finding applications, we do the other way. We try to engage with users, observe users, talk to them, understand the needs, discover what might really work, and then use our intuition, creativity and skills to come up with solutions, and then create enough evidences to prove that what we did actually works. That's sort of the cycle that we go through. And with this cycle, we have done many projects over the years. I'll go through about 6 of them, given the time we have. The first project I want to go through, the idea came from observing a blind user. There was a person who took a master's class in MIT with me. He was blind, and I could see him accessing lecture notes. The way he accessed lecture notes is that he would find his phone. He was using iPhone. He tapped the home button 3 times, so the iPhone turns into voiceover mode. Then he would go to the reading app, take a picture. The app reads things to him. So you could already see the amount of overhead associated with getting something done. Then it immediately suggests that what if you could think of a better human-computer interface that cuts down this unnecessary number of steps, makes that immediate, makes that intuitive. What if you could leverage on our natural behavior of pointing and asking what is this, what is that? So that led us to come up with finger reader, which is basically a finger-worn interface. What it has is a camera worn on an index finger that captures what you're pointing at, a wrist-worn processing unit, connection with the cloud that runs AI engine to process these images, and then a Bluetooth headset that delivers the information as voice. So with this, we ran lots of studies with blind people. I'm going to show you one example where we took blind people into a grocery store, asked them to buy a specific product with a specific flavor and pay for that. So a person could very easily do that by pointing.
Lakerol sugar-free pink guava.
It tells the information about that product. The point with this is, because it's in your index finger, it's always available. It cuts down that initial number of steps you have to go through with the smartphone. Also, your index fingertip acts as the cursor, so you can frame a good image rather than trying to take an image without seeing the viewfinder. And if you're blind, you don't see the viewfinder, and then framing a good image is very difficult. So what finger reader does is it eliminates all this disadvantage of having to use a smartphone app, use this much more intuitive interface. And with this, we built so many different applications. We built an application to read text, so you can pick a book from library bookshelf. We did a currency recognition application, did a product recognition application, and also applications to read text, like restaurant menus and name cards. That's one collection of applications. That's the application for blind people. But given the intuitive nature of the device, or the rather interface, which allows you to point and ask questions, point and pick things, there could be other possible applications. We explore a few of them. One of them we explore is copy pasting things from nature into digital world. So with this, you can very seamlessly pick things, beautiful things from nature, colors, textures, and seamlessly bring them over to digital devices. This could be a tool to enhance creativity, tool to make sure that our kids are having a balance between connection to the nature and connection to digital devices. This is a little app that I did for my own daughter. She would read, and then the finger reader acts as a learning companion and verifies what she read. So these are the kind of things you could do. And this is sort of a nice project to characterize the kind of things we do. We look for impact beyond generating academic knowledge. That's essentially one part of that. But it also generates the societal impact, the various forms of awareness, funding, awards, and collaborations with other labs. So these are the kind of things we are looking when we are doing a project. That's finger reader. I'll go through a few more projects. This is WaveSense. Here the idea is, if you look at smart devices like head-mounted virtual reality display or Google Glass AR display, the way you interact is like this, which is again not natural, right? Why do you want to interact with the virtual thing appearing in front of your eyes this way? You want to be able to grab that and manipulate that. Everybody knew that's what they want to do, but there was lack of technology. Existing technologies such as Leap Motion, Microsoft Kinect would not work with smart devices like Samsung Gear, VR headset or Google Glass, because these devices, these gesture recognition devices, they produce too much data and consume too much power, so it won't run on your smartphone. And the reason that everybody struggled was, everybody assumed that you have to have a camera to be able to recognize gestures. So we break that assumption. We tried playing with infrared sensors and emitters, played with their power and the spatial layout, created feature vector that has enough information so that our machine learning algorithm can detect gestures. And we built that into an end-to-end system that runs on a Gear VR headset. And with this, you can now run the entire gesture recognition engine on the smartwatch itself without connection to a computer or a server. This is the principle, how we generate features and then build that into a system. And with this, the applications are, now you could literally go to an image gallery with your hand gestures. Or play a first-person game. The other similar things you might have seen has a tail, a cable that connects to a computer. But this is truly mobile. This actually now licensed on evaluation basis by Samsung, and trying to explore if they can build this into their next generation of VR headsets. This is behaviour. The idea of this was when we were interacting and observing sessions in hospitals. There's this process of dialysis, purifying your blood. When the patients go through this process in Singapore, there's a risk of bleeding. So once they close the wound, a nurse has to watch this site for about 6 hours to make sure that there's no bleeding. So for a place like Singapore, this is such a waste of manpower to have a person having to manually observe. They didn't want a solution that creates false positives, because that won't have the user acceptance. The nurses were saying they already have this alarm fatigue, so don't bring another alarm that makes them go there for a false positive. And they wanted it to be seamless, a zero learning curve, assistive augmentation. So what we did was, we came up with this sensor, new sensor, using sensor fusion. It has two components. This one over here, it's a simple sensor that detects fluids, and if there's fluid, that fluid could be sweat, urine, or blood, or water. Then we activate the second stage, where we shine a specific nanometer, I believe it's 528, that only absorbed by the blood. So by combining these two, we created a sensor that only activates when there's blood. And we package it such a way that when you close the wound and bandage, you just put the sensor and bandage over it. So for nurses, it's seamless. And when it detects blood, it activated the alarm on site so other people could hear. Plus, it connected with the pages that the nurses carry so that they get alerted. And we brought it to doctors to do a small test run on how they would use it. And this is a typical process. They would simply put the sensor and then cover it over. And here the doctor is trying to inject blood.
We'll push 1 mil at a time. Now it's at 1.9 mils.
So that's how this sensor works. Another project, Musbits. The idea here was, this was a PhD project. The idea was to allow a person who won't hear, a profoundly deaf person, to be able to play music, make music. When we make music, we perform an action, we hear the sound, based on what we heard, we make adjustments. But if you are deaf, you don't have that hearing part, so that feedback loop gets broken. Here the idea was to compensate for that the lack of feedback of sound using visuals and vibration. And there were other important considerations, such as your solution has to be real time, because if you get feedback with a delay, that defeats the purpose of making music. If your solution is cumbersome, that also defeats the purpose of making music. It has to be a solution that doesn't constrain my limb movements. So we designed and developed this sensor and display pair of bits, which we call mus bits. The sensor bit can sense sound from environment or from an instrument, or you can input digital information from a 3.5 jack, and it analyzes the audio real time and then extract parameters, then communicate peer-to-peer to the display bit, where that information gets converted into either live display or vibration, and the user has the option to adjust the intensity as they wish. So with this, the user can simply place the sensor bit on an instrument or on an environment and get the feedback on body, and then use that feedback to play an instrument. We tested this in a deaf school for many months. These are some of the reactions we saw. Here you can see this guy with the percussion. He's playing, and the person next to him, he's feeling the beats, and then he's trying to recognize how many beats were played. These are kids who don't hear anything, absolutely nothing. In the next video, you'll see the person is increasing the volume, and the other guy is reacting. He feels the increase in volume. In this video, you see a profoundly deaf kid playing the instrument with the feedback that he's receiving. This was also used in a music teaching class, where teacher would play the instrument, and the children were getting the same feedback, so they could play in rhythm. These are the type of things that most bits could do. Another project. So I'm just going through a collection of things to give you a flavor of what we do. Post bits. I'm sure all of you use post-it notes at some point. If you put a post-it note on your desktop screen, that's a suggestion that it's a super important, maybe an urgent thing. If you put a post-it note outside your office door, it may be suggesting a public information that you're out for or something. If you put it inside the door, maybe it's a private information. So the place that you put your post-it note has a meaning of urgency, whether it's a private information, public information. But the not so good part about post-it notes is that there's no temporal aspect. Once you write something down, you can't change it. Whereas a smartphone like this, it has this nice feature of you can control it remotely, information can be refreshed, but all the information is layered through screens. If you want to navigate, you have to go through screens, and it does not have the luxury of putting the information at the right location. It doesn't have the spatial feature. So we combine the two together. We created these post bits. These are post-it like little digital notes that has an e-ink display, so you can update the information. As well as you can put the information at the right place. We ran an experiment, developed I think a pack of 15, gave it to families to use over a couple of months to see what they come up with. And they were like very interesting observations. People use this to have a shared shopping list. They left messages at various parts of the home. Some of them connected to information channels so that they only get the information they need rather than having to browse to a web page and distracted with many other things. And there was interestingly one person who was studying for a language proficiency test. She used that as a way of prompting with keywords to see if she remembers her vocabulary. Two more projects. This is swim site. The idea of this was, if you are a deaf swimmer, there's a disadvantage of starting a competition on time compared to a hearing person, because the state-of-the-art solution available to them on the market is something like this. This is a professional timing system that's used in Olympic, the Omega timing system, which comes with this additional accessory for deaf users, this little flashlight. So if you are deaf, what you do is you have this light by your side, you have to look that way, and when it shines, quickly jump in front. So there's an issue with the change of posture, not comfortable. The other thing is, unlike the hearing users, these people will not get any anticipation. The hearing people will hear set, they are ready to go, then they jump at the gunshot. But this has no anticipation, and the positioning is not seamless. So we designed a new lighting system that's meant to be adjusted by the swimmer. So it works for freestyle or backstroke, and it gives anticipation. This amber light you see is the anticipation, and then it turns into green. That suggests that you need to start, and it doesn't have to change your posture. You can position it in such a way that it's right in front of your eyes, and it's compatible with any of the existing timing systems. So you don't have to change the whole system. You just plug and play to existing timing. This was now, initially we developed this for the Singapore Deaf Sports Association. Now they use it for the national deaf swimming events. This is a video of how we made it. We made all of this in-house, and towards the end it will show how it was used in the National Deaf Games in 2016 and 17. This is the National Deaf Games. All of these swimmers are profoundly deaf. So last but not least, apart from these small scale projects, we also do work on large scale projects. These are interactive public light installations, and what we have is a protocol where we can talk to each of these lights individually. So you can think of this as a low resolution pixel display, and we were part of few public large scale light installations. This first one was sometime during 2012 in Singapore, where we installed about 1600 lights in Singapore Marina Bay, and we put sensors around the pier. When people walk around, based on the density of people, the display reacted to them. This was part of the iLight Singapore, and this was actually somehow caught by someone in Wellington. And 2014 we were invited to come to Wellington. They have a similar light festival called Wellington Lux. We did a similar installation where we did a rectangular piece that felt like an extension of your mobile phone screen, so people could drag things from their mobile phone into the water and interact with that. We also did another installation on a bridge where we use infrared cameras to monitor the activity level in terms of how people move, and microphones to detect the loudness of people, and then use that to sort of visualize the energy level on the bridge. All these were installed for a period of 4 to 5 weeks to see the public reaction. Lastly, when Singapore celebrated its 50th anniversary, we created a piece that looked like the Singapore map, where people from various parts of Singapore go there and make a birthday wish to Singapore, and their phone screen became an extended part of that piece. So the phone screen turned into single color depending on which part they belong to, and also it started producing a tone that's corresponding to the district they are from, and people from neighboring parts could physically gather around and create more harmonious sounds. This was again installed in a very public area for about a month, and we recorded all their reactions and categorized them. And in fact, the previous pieces were mostly for the experience. This piece, we actually published a paper analyzing the kind of public response to a piece like this. So yeah, so this is a collection of the kind of things we do. Interfaces for blind people, interfaces for deaf people, new input interaction strategies, large-scale public light installations. The underlying theme for all of this is the assistive augmentation. All of this, we made the interaction such a way that it's quite seamless, and I firmly believe that this type of packaging or encapsulation of technology will open up unprecedented opportunities. That sort of summarizes what I wanted to convey. And as I said, we did most of these projects in Singapore, and as Vinod said, about 2 months ago we moved from Singapore all the way to Auckland, now in the process of setting up the Augmented Human Lab here. And probably one of the nicest things that happened was pretty much all of the team I had in Singapore came here with me, and most of them are here. At this point we are 15 of us. Soon we will be 20. And what I told them, look, there's amazing things happening in ABI. How do we get to know all of these things in the most efficient way? And my suggestion was, what if we get everyone in ABI, every researcher, to tell what they are doing in 30 seconds? That will be efficient use of time, right? Rather than telling them to do this, I said, let's do it ourselves, show what we do, everybody in 30 seconds. So what you will see in a minute would be, in 5 minutes, you will hear 10 projects. And my hope is that if this goes well, one of these seminars or one of those other forums we have, we can turn 40-minute session into a place where we see 80 projects across ABI. So that will be really beneficial for us to understand all of the amazing work you guys do. So now we'll give this a try. Flash talks, 30 seconds. The slides will automatically go on. They'll have to tell a story in 30 seconds. Let's see how it goes. If this is convincing, we can make a case for it. So
Good.
we'll start with Dennis.
Okay, yeah, I'm a postdoc at the AH Lab. I'm kind of supervising research work, and I'm assisting. So yeah, extending physical and intellectual capabilities of the human has always been a long-lasting challenge and vision of mankind. And augmenting humans, the term has actually been invented by Douglas Engelbart in 1960, who is the creator of the computer mouse, which is an extension of our mind through our hands. Of course, we don't need to reinvent the mouse, but we can build various prototypes, and that's what I'm doing.
So he talked about unobtrusive wearables, how we can use unobtrusive wearables to augment humans. So in my research, I'm going a little bit further, and I'm trying to use unobtrusive sensing for health informatics. So Specifically, I'm looking at how we can use smart insoles mouse insoles data to evaluate exercises, and then how to evaluate mental status, and finally how we can use this data to monitor activities and infer anomalies. Thank you. I'm Samita, PhD student from Augmented Human Lab.
Hello. My research aims to enhance human capabilities in their daily lives in terms of human actions as input to computers. I create always available touch input so that you don't have to interact with the small smart devices. Instead, you can actually put your hand anywhere. And this also applies when your hand is also grabbing other things like a handlebar of a bicycle. In terms of human perceptions, I'm looking at how to modify human sense of touch with always available haptic feedbacks when you're grabbing passive objects in the world.
So hi, I'm Suranga. I'm a first year PhD student, and I'm looking more into augmenting cognitive abilities. So in my case, supporting everyday memory. So this could be through smartphone or smartwatches, glasses. I'm currently looking at for people who want to take part in a study, or even just working together. Feel free to contact me, Samantha at ahlab.org. Thank you.
Damn, so fast.
Hi, I'm Shama. So, if you pay attention, there's a lot going on in the world of sound, and we as humans listen to those inputs and become aware of what's happening around us. But obviously, there's a lot going on in the world of infrasound as well. We can't hear it. So, I'm working on a differential microbarometer that will sense and record those infrasounds, and I'm hoping to explore the possibility of using this for activity recognition and as a mean to identify elephants in a long distance. I have how express.
Hi, I'm Yvonne. I'm a master's student working on immersive technology for education. So now that VR has become more mainstream and it's making its way into the hands of everybody, including little school kids, it's important to understand what elements of VR actually contribute to learning. So I'll be working with teachers to design learning content and running experiments in their classrooms to find out more about this.
Okay, my name is Ile. I'm also a PhD student in the lab, and what I'm interested in is to leverage gestures to make interaction more intuitive and expressive. So, for example, the just key. I don't know how many of you remember all the short keys you need to perform to input all this text here. So what we did is to enable gestures on individual keycaps. What you can do is just do a gesture, and you can input what you want to input. And for more information, and we also have a study and show that our technique is quite have a good performance. And for more information, you can go to our website. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Vibla. What if I ask, do you have a smart device? The answer would be yes. What if I ask, how many smart devices do you have? It would be many. So, out of those many, how many will help you to save your life in a disaster situation? Okay. For my masters, I'm working on to making your smart devices smarter enough to save your life in a disaster situation. That's it.
My name is Pablo. I'm a master's student also. Okay, so say I do guide humans in daily tasks. Let's say making a coffee from our complex coffee machine. So with normal systems, it's really hard. But what I'm focusing on is an AI which can learn from human demonstrations. So the technologies I'm using is deep learning and reinforcement learning. We humans can learn from demonstration. We humans can learn by seeing something doing. So why not an AI? So this is basically my work. Thank you. My name is Shamin, by the way. Okay, yeah.
Hey, Pablo again. Hello. So I'm doing an internal interface that mimics the behavior of the user when chewing a chewing gum. And therefore, you can flip it, for example, to scroll through the menu. You can move it around your mouth to change the menu, and you can bite to select. So this can be used for contexts where limb movement is limited, or you just don't want to catch everybody's attention while interacting. You know, like I want to scroll, to select. You know, and that's it.
Okay. Thank you so much. I hope that gave some idea of what we do, who we are. We have had such a nice time last 2 months, and we hope it will continue the same way, and look forward to work with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you everybody for really a very fascinating overview of all the very interesting things that you do. We do have time for some questions and discussion, and we can then take it over to our slides. So, Peter?
Suranga, with all the talks that your team has just given, is there a website where people could go and say, I recognise? Yeah. So is there, they can find the right person to contact about from those images?
All the information.
Did Pablo have to move here because chewing gums are not allowed in Singapore?
He couldn't have done this in
Singapore. No, with your chewing gum.
Yeah, exactly. But they are local.
Your website's not all good. Does that mean you're not proper? Like, are you guys just doing research?
Of course we are doing research.
But, like, you know what I mean?
So, here's the thing. Just like any other PI in ABI, we are also part of ABI. We are a research lab. The things that come out from the research lab, we always try to have impact. That impact could be a commercial impact. So, some of this work has turned into startups. Some of them are being in the process of converting into startups. Some became social innovation projects. So there is an impact part. I think maybe your question is more referring to the website having the .org part.
No, I'm mostly interested in like what you're saying. Like.
Yeah, so I mean we do have genuinely interest in turning this into commercial things or social innovation to create impact. And that has been done before, and this is one thing we are interested in doing here as well. I know that has been very successfully done in ABI by others as well.
Yeah, it was. It's a really nice mixture you've got of cool ideas and software sort of development, but also the hardware development that can enable the to bring these sort of cool ideas into practice. How do you develop, for instance, the hardware? Do you have a sort of a dedicated group who are working on that, or is that up to the individual sort of PhD or researcher?
It's a mixture of things. So right now, for example, in the group right now, Chamon is a hardware engineer. So he's not doing a master's or PhD. He's dedicated to help with hardware projects. For example, Pablo comes with a hardware background, so his master's, the chewing gum he's making, he'll make it by himself. And previously, the project I showed you, Musbit, as well as Ele's work on Jestaki. Ele his bachelor's degree was industrial design and environmental engineering, but he taught himself to make all the hardware. He did the whole augmented keyboard by himself. So sometimes people able to do it themselves, sometimes there's help. Yeah, so it happened multiple ways. And when we actually do batch production of 200 units for a study, then we contacted some production houses in Shenzhen, in China, then got them to do the volume production part. But we did the whole hardware design, the layout in the lab, and then sent to them for the fabrication.
Any further questions? All right, so let's thank Suranga and his team once again.
Thank you.